day. Today we are going to discuss about sociological perspective. But before anything else, let me first define what is perspective and what is sociological. Perspective is a way to look at things, and sociological is the study of human social behavior. Without further ado, let's proceed to sociological perspective. A sociological perspective is a broad assumption about society and social behavior that provides point of view for the study of specific problems.
Social dimensions of education. Origin of sociology of education. The sociology of education is the study of how social institutions and individual experiences affects education and its outcome. It is relatively a new branch, and two great sociologists, Emil Durkheim and Max Weber, were the father of sociology of education. Emil Durkheim's work on moral education as a basis for social solidarity is considered the beginning of sociology of education.
And now we are going to discuss about the social dimensions of education. Number one, consensus and conflict theories. Number two, structural functionalism. And last, interactionist theories. Sociologists see education as one of the major institutions that constitutes society, while theories guide research and policies formulation in the sociology of education. These theories help sociologists understand educational systems. Sociology. The word sociology originates from Latin prefix socius, which means companion, and the suffix ology, the study of, from the Greek logos, knowledge. Sociology is the systematic study of society. Sociology encompasses all the elements of society, like, for example, social relation, social stratification, social interaction, and culture. Society. People in general thought of as living together in organized communities with shared laws, traditions, and values. The people of a particular country, area, time, and etc. thought of especially as an organized community. Education is a broad concept referring to all experiences in which learners can learn something. It is a social endeavor designed to get the maximum from the ability of each of the members of the society. Education is covers both the teaching, learning of knowledge and values. Education consists of systematic instruction, teaching and training by professional teachers. According to some sociologists, society has two phases, the phase of consensus and the phase of conflict. Further, they emphasize that sociological theory should be divided in two parts between the consensus theory and the conflict theory.
The proponents of consensus and conflict sociological and social theories are Karl Marx, Emil Durkheim, Max Weber, Talcott Parsons and Robert Merton, Louis Althusser and Ralph Dahrendorf, Herbert Mead and Herbert Blumer.
Karl Marx. Marx's class theory rests on the premise that the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. According to this view, ever since human society emerged from its primitive and relatively undifferentiated state, it has remained fundamentally divided between classes who clash in the pursuit of class interest. Emile Durkheim. Durkheim discusses how modern society is held together by a division of labor that makes individuals dependent upon one another because they specialize in different types of work. Durkheim is particularly concerned about how the division of labor changes the way that individuals feel they are part of society as a whole. Max Weber. Max Weber believed that it was social actions that should be the focus of the study in sociology. To Weber, a social action was an action carried out by an individual to which an individual attached a meaning. Therefore, an action that a person does not think but cannot be a social action.
What is a conflict theory? Conflict theory emphasizes the role of coercion in power in producing social order. This perspective is derived from the works of Karl Marx, who saw society as fragmented into groups that compete for social and economic resources. According to conflict theory, inequality exists because those in control of a disproportionate share of society's resources actively defend their advantages. The conflict model is concerned with the stresses and conflicts that emerge in society because of competitions over scarce resources. It focuses on the inequalities that are built into social structures rather than on those that emerge because of personal characteristics. What is consensus theory? Consensus theory is a social theory that states that social change should occur in institutions that are provided by a political or economic system which is fair. The theory also states that the absence of conflict without a society is the state of equilibrium. And it is being considered in these theories that social order in the society should be maintained based upon the accepted norms, values, roles, or regulations that are accepted by the society in general. Now let us differentiate consensus theories and conflict theories. Consensus theories see shared norms and values as fundamental to society, while conflict theories emphasize that dominance of some social groups by others. In consensus theories, it focuses on social order based on tacit agreements, while in conflict theories, sees social order as based on manipulation and control by dominant groups. And lastly, consensus theories view social change as occurring in a slow and orderly fashion, while in conflict theories, view social change as occurring rapidly in a disorderly fashion as subordinate groups other flow dominant groups. Let's move to structural functionalism. Number one, adaptation. A system must cope with external situational exigencies. It must adapt to its environment and adapt environment to its need. Number two, goal attainment. A system must define and achieve its primary goals. Number three, integration. A system must regulate the interrelationship of its component parts. It must also manage the relationship among the other three functional imperatives, which is the AGL stands for adaptation, goal attainment, and latency. And last but not the least, number four, latency. A system must furnish, maintain, and renew both the motivation of individuals and cultural patterns that create and sustain the motivation. Structure of general action system. Cultural system or latency function, providing actors with the norms and values that motivate them for actions. Action system or adaptation function, adjusting to and transforming to the external world. Social system or integration function, controlling its components parts. Personality system or goal attainment, defining system goals and mobilizing resources to attain them. Structural functionalism. It states that society is made up of various institutions that work together in cooperation. Parsons' structural functionalism has four functional imperatives, also known as AGLSIM. Please see the attached picture to see the Parsons structural and functional model of society. Functional requisites of a social system. Number one, social system must be structured so that they operate compatibly with other systems. Number two, to survive, the social system must have requisites for other systems. Number three, the system must meet a significant proportion of needs of its actors. Number four, the system must elicit adequate participation from its members. Number five, it must have at least a minimum of control over potentially disruptive behavior. Number six, if conflict becomes sufficiently disruptive, it must be controlled. And last but not the least, number seven, finally, a social system requires a language in order to survive, according to Talcott Parsons.
This level of analysis helps us to understand education in the big picture. Interactionist theories attempt to make the commonplace strange by turning on their heads everyday taken for granted behaviors and interactions between students and between students and teachers.
Symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interaction theory analyzes society by addressing the subjective meanings that people impose on objects, events, and behaviors. It has its own origin in the social psychology of early 20th century sociologists George Herbert Mead and Charles Horton Cooley. This school of thought, known as symbolic interactionism, views the self as socially constructed in relation to social forces and structures and the product of ongoing negotiations of meanings.
Principles of symbolic interactionism. Number one, human beings are endowed with the capacity for thought. Number two, the capacity taught us shaped by social interaction. Number three, in social interaction, people learn the meanings and the symbols that allow them to exercise their distinctively human capacity for thought. Number four, meanings and symbols allow people to carry on distinctively human action and interaction. Number five, people are able to modify or alter meanings and symbols that they use in action and interaction on the basis of their interpretation of the situation. Number six, people are able to make this modification and alteration because in part of their ability to interact with themselves, which allows them to examine possible courses of action, assess the relative advantages and disadvantages, and then choose one. Number seven, the intertwined patterns of action and interaction make up groups and societies.
Social-cultural function. The regularization of common tasks and activities of a collective life. This function gives rise to routines, norms, public behavior, and standard operating procedures. The attunement and instillment in the social members of the customary laws and values give and direct the members towards enlightenment, ennoblement, and perfectibility. The veneration of all that are beneficent to the human race and society through the collective acts of celebration, recognition, and commemoration of people. Socio-political functions, political governance, legislation, arbitration, social service, social assistance, security and protection, punitive sanction, implementation of social justice through laws and social development. And the last part of our topic is all about school and social institution, which include family, education, religion, economic institution, government, and education 4.0, responding the demands of society. The family. Sociological perspectives are used to examine how social norms, values, and beliefs shape family life. Sociologists use functionalist theory to emphasize the role of families in maintaining social order and stability. The family is considered a primary social institution that provides its members with emotional support, socialization, and economic security. Sociologists use conflict theory to examine how power struggles within the family hierarchy may affect individual relationships. Symbolic interactionism focuses on how family members use symbols and rituals to communicate and interact with one another. Education. Sociologists use various perspectives to examine education as a social institution. Functionalist theory emphasizes the role of education in providing knowledge and skills necessary for economic and social mobility. Conflict theory examines how social inequalities, such as race and class, influence educational opportunities and outcomes. Symbolic interactionisms examine how meanings and values shape education through social interactions. Religion. Sociological perspective on religion examine the role of religion in shaping values, beliefs, and social practices. Functionalist theory emphasizes the role of religion in promoting social order and community cohesion. Conflict theory examines how religion can be a tool of social control and how power struggles within religious institutions can lead to conflict. Symbolic interactionists examine how religious symbols and belief shape social interaction and social identities. Economic institution. Sociological perspective on economic institutions examine how economic systems are constructed and how this system shapes social inequality. Functionalist theory emphasizes the role of economic institutions in providing goods and services to society. Conflict theory examines how economic system can lead to social disparities and inequality. Symbolic interactionists examine how economic systems shape social interaction and social identities. Government. Sociologists use various perspectives to examine the role of government in society. Functionalist theory emphasizes the role of government in maintaining social order and providing services to society. Conflict theory examines how power struggles within government can lead to social inequality and political unrest. So, symbolic interactionists examine how government symbols and images shape social identity and promote national cohesion. Education 4.0 responding to the demand of society. Education 4.0 is a purposeful approach to learning that lines up with the fourth industrial revolution and about transforming the future of education using advanced technology and automation. Major trends of Education 4.0. Number 1, a more personalized learning. Education 4.0 appreciates the individuality of every single student and their own pace of learning. Having a personalized way of teaching will have a greater impact on students to achieve their outcomes easily. Number 2, more remote learning opportunities is making learning available anywhere, anytime, with the set of e-learning tools that promote remote and self-paced learning. Number 3, the plethora of education tools. Education 4.0 offers a clear route to students by making tools and techniques. And last but not the least, number 4, data at the fingertips. There are greater insights into the student's learning journey with data analytics and reporting in Education 4.0. The statistical analysis allows teaching staff to learn where students exactly stand and guide them appropriately, handy in their learning environment.